This is Jason Norfleet, and you are watching the iLLest Lines.
Hey, what's good, everybody? This is your B fam, I.AM.D.ANTHONY, and this is the iLLest Lines, where we talk about our favorite lines from certain songs because bars matter. So listen, we have a gentleman right now who I just recently found like online, on Spotify through different music and whatnot. And he's multi-talented. He plays the bass. He's an artist. He just became an artist. He's a producer. He's a DJ. So we're going to talk about his album, Good News. So I want to welcome him right now to the iLLest Lines.
Hey, everybody. What's going on?
Hey. Thanks again for being on the show. I truly appreciate you saying yeah.
Hey, no problem.
Amen. So yeah, I was mentioning about the fact that we all tend to find like brand new people, and I love doing that myself because I love to be able to find new people that I haven't heard of before. You know what I'm saying? And I was searching a little bit for you, any kind of past things, past projects that you might have been doing. I may not have been digging hard enough though. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I did notice that it's in your bio, it stated that you just became an artist. Is that correct?
Yes.
Wow. So was that this year or well, I should say the past year?
In the past year, yes. Prior to that was a single.
Got you. Yeah. And it was very refreshing to hear not just your recent single, which we'll talk about that in a second as well. But one of the things I dug about you was there was a certain type of vibe that you have that reminded me of when I used to listen to music as a kid, meaning, because my parents used to listen to like all kinds of jazz, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I grew up on Al Jarreau and Chick Corea and Lee Ritenour, you know what I'm saying? Like a whole slew of people that I didn't really like as a kid, but it brings back fond memories. So I love them now, you know what I mean? So it kind of had that same vibe to me on a couple of cuts that you have. But one of the things that I wanted to find out from you is, when did you first get caught up in music?
Well, I've always kind of been around music all my life. My first experience with music and instruments was in church.
Okay.
First fell in love with the drummer just doing this thing, and the bass, the guitar player, and all that stuff. And so, I said one day I'm going to do that, or I was thinking I would like to do that. Mm-hmm. So the church was where it started at.
And how old were you then?
Well, I've been in church all my life, but when I actually touched my first instrument, I was probably maybe 5, trying to play drums.
Right.
So yeah, about that age.
Making whatever kind of beat you can make, right?
Yeah, just making noise, like band.
Yeah. What was it about the music in itself that you were hearing that drew you to it? Because I know a lot of people, they have like different things. Sometimes it's the actual singer, sometimes it could be just the drums. But what was it about it that was so interesting to you that you can remember?
Well, my mom, she would sing in church too, singing the choir, soloist. So that's kind of always been around. She would sing around the house, and so eventually, they had the little children's choir, so got into that, and that's kind of like how we got our start into singing a little bit. So I guess my mom, my dad would, he can't really hold a note too much, but but yeah, that was basically the beginning of it. And then, listening to who they would listen to around the house, groups like the Winans, Commission, BB&CC Winans, and other choirs, and that were out at the time.
Right. In listening to some of those people though, did you ever start feeling like, yeah, I could do that one day?
Yeah, well, I always knew that I loved music from a young. It wasn't until my parents are now, well, for a while now, they've been pastors, and so basically being pastors, they naturally wanted their children to be involved, and in our case, it was to play an instrument. So they prayed for us, myself and my brother.
Oh, okay.
And brother started playing the drums, and I started playing the piano, and it kind of went from there. I eventually got some lessons from one of the teachers, and as well as in high school, I got a little bit of classic training there.
Oh,
but
okay.
but yeah, that's where I kind of really got I wouldn't say serious, but that was like where I really started to pick up the pace of feeling like, okay, I might be able to do something with this maybe someday. Was around probably teen years.
I'm sorry, probably around what years?
Around my teen years.
Teen years. Oh, okay. Yeah. Nice. So then how did you transition from, because I know you play the bass. Is that predominantly your musician? I mean, your musician, excuse me, your instrument?
Yes, I would say now it is. I probably started playing bass. Actually, there's a little story to go with it. Yeah. Christmas, probably when I was like 16 or so. I was already playing the piano in church, and I had actually, let me step back. There was like I said, I had a piano teacher from my church, named Carol Jones. She had passed on now, but she was teaching me, I guess church chording or church structure on the piano.
Oh, right.
As I was in a lesson in her house, we would do the lessons at her house. She would be in the kitchen frying up some chicken or what have you.
Right.
So she would put like a sheet of music in front of me and just say that. And I was learning how to read sheet music. And so I knew a little bit, but I wasn't very good at it at all.
Gotcha.
A whole nother thing. But so anyway, she had me to play, and she would be in the other room just listening. And all of a sudden she said, "You're going to be a bass player." I'm like, "What do you mean?" Wow. I'm playing the piano. I like the piano. So she was just like, "You're going to be a bass player one day." So the way that you're playing, you're more dominant on your left hand or on the lower end, the bass end of the piano.
Wow.
And I was like, okay.
Right.
Kind of, that just carried on, and sure enough, going back to Christmas, when I was about 16. Christmas was on a Sunday that year, and so I had already expressed that I would like a bass guitar to my parents, so they got me one that Christmas. I got it. And, back in the day, or even now, get up the crack of dawn before the sun comes up to go open them presents. So, anyways, I opened it up and I started playing it, and sure enough, I brought it to church that Sunday morning, that day of Christmas.
Right.
A couple hours later, and from what I can remember and from what they said I played it as if I've been playing it for years.
Wow.
So I guess it was like a natural progression to go to that. And when she spoke that into my life at the time, I was just like I said, I was like, okay. But then eventually I began to see it. I was like, yeah, I guess I do lean the bass end of things. So that was the transition into playing the bass.
Right. And that's something wonderful that people can do, you know what I mean? Whether they're adults or people our own age, like when we were kids or whatnot, if they can be able to discern that and see that in somebody, you know what I mean? I know for me, like, when I'm hearing something, and it's funny that I don't play an actual instrument myself, but I a lot of times I tend to hear the bass a lot more, especially if they like, I know, who's one of my favorites, other than Fred Hammond, is Warren Campbell. When I heard Warren Campbell play the bass line to what is that song? It's from Mary Mary. I can't remember the name of the song right now. I've got like a whole bunch of Mary Mary songs in my head right now, but the bass line to this particular song was just amazing. But I found myself like really paying more attention to certain things, you know what I mean? I try to still listen for every little thing, but like that bass for some reason always carries everything, you know what I mean? So there's that natural, reaction that I have to that, So would you say that happened with you? Because it sounds to me like you didn't actually pick up a bass until you got it for Christmas. Is that true?
That's true. Yeah.
Wow.
But like I said, I had my musical influences were like Commission, the Winans from listening to it in the house. Eventually,
Right.
I did that and other artists on my own. Freddie Hammond played the bass.
Right.
That's definitely one of my influences for bass and vocals. I tried to even sing.
Right. And don't we all?
So, that was my main influence for bass. Wayman Tisdale, who he's passed. He was nasty on the bass.
Oh man, yes.
But people like Stanley Clark, Vic, other, there's so many I can name that it's like the influences, and I would listen to them all the time and try to figure out how the heck you do that, trying to get it. But yeah, those are my main influences for bass.
And then how about vocals? I know you mentioned Fred Hammond, but how about vocals as far as like, what makes you feel like this particular person or these people, kind of make you feel like you're pushing forward in your own vocals?
Well, that's another funny thing because it comes from a place that most people probably wouldn't expect, or at least at the time. But my main vocal inspiration at the time was Jamie Foxx. And the reason why I say it's really expect, because at the time he was new as a comedian. This is back in the early 90s. And they didn't know him as a singer. And it was that first project that he put out that really was like, wow, I just, the whole thing was just amazing vocally and music. So he plays and sings as well. Plays things. So that was really like an inspiration. His sound, really what I would try to mimic and vocal. And so that between him, Fred Hammond, other vocal influences, and that was pretty much the beginning of that.
Got you. So you seem to have spent a lot of time, just in music in itself, you know what I mean? But I kind of want to address the thing that I stated at the beginning about, what it said in your bio. So you just recently became an artist, so to speak. So, putting out your own stuff, how did you build up to that in itself?
Well, it was last year. We all had a lot of time on our hands for home during the pandemic.
Yeah.
It was a week. It was about 2 weeks off. The matter of fact, it was somebody had got caught COVID at my job, so they sent a bunch of us home for possible exposure. But anyways, during that time period, it was like about 2 weeks off, and so started tinkering around on my keyboard. I'm pointing over here because it's like right here next to me. Started messing around the keyboard, and now prior to that, I had over the years I would just like mess around and just create little songs here and there. Never really did anything with them. So, like I said, last year I started getting a little bit more serious about it. Like I think I might be able to put something out because I sold so many songs, such song. I could probably put something out eventually. Prior to that, about 2009, 2008, I actually put together a list of songs. So this is how Good News was actually birthed.
Oh, okay.
I had been writing songs, and so I had about Good News was actually supposed to be about 18 or 19 songs around there.
Wow.
Yeah, but it seems like nowadays people don't put out long albums that are that long anymore.
True.
So I don't know if it's an attention thing or whatever, but
could be.
Yeah. So it was about 18, 19 songs. And so what I did was just pull from here and there, the ones I actually either started the production of it.
Right.
I had, bits and pieces of it prior to that. So I would finish the songs, and then that's what my first single release was in September of actually 19? No, September of 2020. I dropped a single, Your Love. And then in February of this year, 2021. That's when I dropped "Don't You Know,"
which is a good one too.
Actually, it was January of 2021. This one I dropped that, and then I dropped the full project in February of this year.
Gotcha. So while you were working on that, what part of you, or let me kind of draw back on that question in that way. Was there any part of you that felt like you were unsure about moving in that direction? I mean, because you're a musician first, right? And is that the correct thing to say?
Right.
And you also started getting into being a DJ as well.
Right. The DJ thing that started, years ago. Actually, my first influence with that was a this guy named Vince Durham, who was actually, he put out a mixtape. You put out gospel mixtapes.
Oh, and right.
Gospel, hip hop, and what we know as some people say R&P or R&B,
rhythm and praise. Yeah.
It wasn't what it is now. A lot of times the production wasn't the same as what you would hear on the radio.
True.
So, but anyway, so this guy, he would make mixtapes literally with those cassette tapes. The first one I heard, and I was like, "You did that with tapes and not like." I'm like, his blending was like flawless. Like how you would go from song to song,
right?
But just his transitions were amazing to me, and so that's what really inspired me to become a DJ. From that point, he would kind of coach me along. I eventually equipment. He gave me some pointers and tips here and there,
right?
And so that was like how I first started getting known around. Then people knew me for my gospel jazz mixtapes. And that's still today. I'm not a big scratcher. I'm more of a blend.
Oh, okay.
Just like to keep the party going with the blend.
Right. There you go.
You know what I mean? So that was my main influence for DJing. Was through another actually Christian DJ.
Right. Nice. Now I will say in looking up your discography so far, which is cool, when you go online, because I know how it is too, being an artist, especially coming out, fresh out, you're like, okay, this is gonna be cool. I'm gonna see my stuff is gonna be put up, people are gonna play it, you know what I mean? So seeing your discography is such a gift, so to speak, in itself. But when I noticed, one of the things that I noticed about your recent release, which is Be With You. All I can do is just think of you. On my mind all the time, you remind me of why I'm gonna love you. Listening to it, I ain't gonna lie, this is the first thing that caught me by surprise. I'm listening to it and I'm like, I got past, because the hook came first, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
I'm listening, I'm like, okay, I didn't hear a verse. Here's the hook again. I didn't hear the verse. So I'm assuming obviously that was on purpose. What part of that particular song in itself did you make that decision to be like, you know what, I just want this to be a hook?
Well, it was a combination of things. That sample or that hook that you heard in the beginning was actually a sample from Ben Tankard, who was a gospel piano player, who was also one of my inspirations to play keys. He definitely, I talked to him and he put his blessing and said, yes, you can use the sample of the song. He blessed me with it. So,
okay. Here you go.
Yeah. Well, I sampled it and, I was kind of just messing around. My initial thought was lo-fi. I wanted to do something lo-fi vein.
Right.
I don't know if you can kind of qualify it as that now, because it's not necessarily the same, but and I just started like playing instrumentally over it. I wanted it to be like a peaceful vibe to it.
Right.
Not saying that vocally it couldn't be that, but the instruments that I chose, I feel kind of brought like a calmness to it. And then there's like you said, there's the hook, which had vocals, and their bridge has vocals on it too. So
right.
but the overall vibe of the song was just like a, just kind of riding your car. That was my thinking, riding, and you're just chilling, you're just vibing out.
Right, right. And I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
I will tell you, as far as all the songs that I played on there on Good News were dope, really nice. But my favorite was Walking with Jesus.
Ah.
That particular song. Now, which instruments are you playing? All the instruments on that song, or anything in particular?
My friends to help me out. I played the main track, which is the I did the bass. I did bass lead and the bass that's like in the background. What else did I do in there? Well, I think that might be it, because I eventually had my musician friends play my parts over again. I did like a little demo to show them what I want them to do.
Oh, gotcha.
And once they did their parts, I eventually took my version out. So yeah, I had some friends of mine that just played drums, played the sax, played the guitar and the piano, actually the percussion as well.
Nice. Yeah, that the whole entire vibe of that song in itself, like I said, I have my favorites whenever I talk to, particular artists and stuff, because there's certain things that hit me more than the others. And not to say that the other songs are not good. It's just, we all have our favorites when we hear certain people, you know what I mean? And that, for me, it was kind of reminiscent of when I would hear, like I said, before, I would listen to certain jazz artists when I was coming up, you know what I mean? And it had that same vibe. So I could definitely hear and understand what you mean in regards to, putting something out there that you could just vibe with, and
Right.
either driving in your car or just you want to relax and chill, you know what I mean? Definitely that kind of vibe.
Yeah, that's kind of my vibe in general. I'm like a chill person and just like laid back, so that I listen to a lot of music that's real chill. And so that song is a real the Walking with Jesus, as well as Be With You, are like my vibe 99% of the time.
Right.
I mean, so
you don't say.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell. And it's good. It's good to have, that type of demeanor, because I think that rubs off on people, you know what I'm saying? And it kind of allows, for people with, maybe a little more energetic spirit to feel like, you know what, I may need to calm down a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it kind of goes along with my professional career I work in the security industry.
Oh,
so, a lot of times we got to be straight faced and, serious and so on.
Right.
But another big part of it, which is not just security, but see, I don't want to get too political.
Right.
But another big part of security or even police work is to what do you call it? I just have to de-escalate situations. So when you come into a situation in a peaceful manner, calm manner, that person or persons tends to come to your level. Now they're all irate. It's not every single time, but if I'm talking to them kindly, if I'm talking to them softly, and so on, they generally come down to where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much my demeanor a lot, even when I'm working. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that shines through. You could definitely tell that about you. From jump, from the first moment you open up your camera.
Yeah.
So on this project, on Good News itself, which song would you say is your favorite on there?
I'm gonna say, But Then. I say that because that song, how you got songs that's just, or any song, whether you write it yourself or if you hear somebody sing it or whatever, it's like that person really meant what he said or she said.
True. Very true.
Or that didn't sound like that's something that they made up.
Right.
You know what I mean? That song there is, every lyric of that is true. I mean, all the lyrics that I put out are true, but song in particular has a special place because we all come from things that those of us that are saved,
right,
from a past that we may or may not be proud of, or it's just an actual testimony of things that you have overcome, and so on. And so that song actually talks about some of those things, and it means a lot to me lyrically. That's probably one of my favorites lyrically.
Amen.
Music, probably walking with Jesus.
Yeah.
It's a fun song to me. It's like a bossa nova type groove to it.
Right.
It sounds like a Brazilian jazz to me. Somebody said that. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, as a musician, it's a fun song to play. But even just as a listener, it's a nice vibe, I think.
Got you. Going back to But Then, because since you said that was your favorite song, what would you say is your favorite lyric from that song?
Oh. Let me think here. You know what? I think the actual words "but then," because I'm talking about what I used to do, but then God came in. I used to be this, I used to be that, but then God came in to change. It's just simple 2 words, but the words are the changing factor. From that point on, it's a whole nother thing. You creature in Christ, and so that I would say, but then is probably as simple as it is, probably the lyric.
Indeed. It's kind of like the scripture where it just simply says Jesus wept.
Exactly.
That in itself, I mean, it tells you a lot in just those 2 words. It tells you about his character, even in that particular moment. You know what I mean? But that definitely is awesome, because it's powerful how, I should say, it's a great thing to know how powerful even a few words can be.
Oh yeah.
And they mean a lot. You know what I mean? They're just simple words mean a lot, and it's such a wonderful thing to be able to not only put that out yourself, but to be able to know that people are hearing this, and it's going to affect somebody. It's going to minister to somebody. I've always said this to people, that if it doesn't minister to you first, it's not going to minister to anybody else, because you're not, at that point, then you're not putting yourself in it. But when you are putting yourself in it, and people can see and hear your character through that, you know what I mean? Although I'm not gonna lie, some of the songs that I heard, I'm like, okay, I won't say that it doesn't match your demeanor, but there's sometimes, like just checking your demeanor out right now. It's like, okay, yeah, he was pretty hype on a couple of songs.
Yeah. Well, I've been told that I'm not really an outwardly showing my emotion person. So I may not look like I'm excited or happy, but I am.
Indeed. Indeed.
I guess that's meaner. So, but even in that, I've learned that you have to, in music production, and I don't know if I want to say life, but you kind of have to, it's okay to show certain emotions, or to be outwardly expressive.
Indeed.
I don't know. It's just not something I really do all the time, but every now and then you catch me.
True. Right. Every now and then you'll get on the good foot.
Yeah.
Indeed. Well, I definitely appreciate our time together, that we've been able to chop it up a little bit. But before I let you go, I do want to ask you one last question. But before that, if you could let people know where they could reach you at on social media, as well as if you have anything coming up for the new year.
Okay. You can find me on pretty much all social media: Twitter, Instagram is at DJ Maestro 1. Hopefully you know how to spell Maestro, but it's a lot messed up. So it's DJ Maestro, the number 1. So that's for Instagram and Twitter. On Facebook, you can just type my name in, Jason Norfleet. Or actually, the actual direct address is, if you're on Facebook, facebook.com/gospel DJ, and that will go direct to
yes, I did see that.
Yeah. I have my own website. It's called maestromovement.com.
Yes.
And As far as events, the funny thing is I have yet to do any of my songs live yet to perform. I'm just like, okay, I'm ready. I think I'm ready now. I've been practicing. So
right. You know, that's actually a question I forgot to ask you. Where are you from? Like where are you living?
Originally, I'm from Waterbury, Connecticut, but currently I moved to Florida about 10 years ago. I'm in Orlando.
You said
area.
Orlando? Oh,
Yep.
okay. Nice.
That's where I'm at now. And again, because of the pandemic, a lot of places were not open at the time when I dropped my project. Churches and other venues weren't open. So there wasn't really the opportunity to perform like that.
Gotcha.
They're beginning to open up, and people have been open now, but again, I haven't really seen too many people doing concerts. Some people are funny about gathering in large crowds. You know what I mean?
True.
So it's going to happen eventually. But right now, I don't really have anything planned. So if there's anybody out there in the Central Florida area or wherever, I don't mind jumping on a flight or driving to wherever.
Amen.
I am available. So you can contact me through any of those social media sites or my website, which is maestro.com, and we'll make it happen.
Yes, indeed. So you guys heard it. He gave you full on permission to contact him and hire him if you want him to play if you want him to minister anywhere, let him know right away. Definitely again, appreciate your time. But last question I want to ask you, and it's a big one that I love to ask people, because then it allows them to be able to kind of dig deep a little bit. So we're gonna dig deep just for 1 second. So what would you say is one of the illest lines that you ever heard that made an impact on your life?
Illest line I've ever heard. One thing I can think of, there's probably a couple, but it's gonna be some church stuff because I'm a church boy. Grew up in church.
Indeed.
Lyrically, I would say one of the first songs to really impact me was the song by the Winans called "Tomorrow."
Yes.
The chorus, "Tomorrow, I'll give my life tomorrow. I thought about today." I'm trying to remember all the lyrics, but so much easier to say. But anyways, yeah, that lyric. I've heard the song for over years, and then one day it kind of like took roots. And I was like, wow, it's like you don't know if you're going to be here tomorrow, and so give your life today. Let's see, another one, Fred Hammond one. Fred Hammond had this song called, I believe it was on his first solo album, called "My Heart Depends on You." It was R&B-ish to me.
Oh, okay.
Had a very R&B feel to it, and got a funny story. I actually put that on a mixtape, and this was a mixtape that I gave my then. Well, actually, she was nothing to me, but now she's my wife.
Right.
When she tells the story, it's funny. She's thinking, "Oh, you tried to trap me. You put that song." It was the lyrics, basically. The song, it sounded like a love song. It was a love song, but it was a love song to God. It's called "My Heart Depends on You," and he's giving like saying, like the flowers need the sun, and it's like using all these words. It's like things that you would, if you was trying to talk some game to a girl.
Right.
All little sweet little nothings like that. So I put that song. She's like, "Oh, you was trying to trap me. You was trying to get me." I was like, "Well, I mean, it wasn't intentional, but we here." So
right. And how many years later?
Yeah. So
no, for real. How many years later?
How many years that? Well, let's see. I gave that to her, that mixtape to her, probably within from that point to the point we actually got married. It was probably about a year or so.
Oh, okay.
Started dating and the whole nine and all that stuff. I guess it kind of did open the door to
right.
It is now, So.
And how long you guys been married?
22 years.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. Congratulations on that. And that's a big deal, especially nowadays.
Absolutely.
Indeed. Well, Jason, I definitely, like I said, I definitely have enjoyed our time talking, and I'm definitely going to be looking out. So everybody out there, look, keep an eye out for him. You know what I mean? Go to Spotify right now. Go to Apple Music, Tidal, wherever you get your digital music at. Play Good News. Pay attention to all of them, but I'm definitely sponsoring and not sponsoring, but co-signing, I'll say, for But Then and Walking with Jesus. Play those until you can't play them no more. But go check him out. Go follow him on social media. And Jason, thank you so much for being on the show. And if there's anything that you need on my end, please feel free to let me know.
All right, I appreciate you having me on.
Definitely. Much love to you.
Yes, sir.
God bless.
All right,